What's going on, America? This is Kevin from Kevin's Corner, where I try to make sense out of nonsense. And tonight I thought I would invite my viewers in to just, enjoy Tucker Carlson with me, because I got a chance to just listen to a little bit of what he's talking about. And I said, you know what? Let us all enjoy Tucker together so we can figure out what is it about these Democrats and the people who support them and vote for them, because my gut tells me they're sitting around somewhere in some think tank or in the meetings, cracking up, laughing about how much dumb stuff their voters will believe. It have to be. I mean, they're sitting back like, dude, I can't even believe we threw that out there and they actually fell for it. How many things can we tell them that they won't even stop for a second to question? Won't even sit and say, now, wait a minute. I got a gut feeling you're up to some shenanigans. Y'all might be taking us in a direction that we don't want to go in. I know we hate Trump and all, but man, what are y'all talking about? Could it be that they're taking advantage of all of the propaganda that they've been pushing and convincing all of these people that Trump is the worst thing for the whole planet? Because at this point, some of them are probably going, you know what? Something deep down on the inside makes me feel like what they're doing might be illegal, might be wrong, might be unconstitutional. I mean, all the stuff they're talking about with these mail-in ballots don't really make sense to me. But you know what? If it gets rid of Trump, I'm okay with it. I'm willing to turn the other cheek and say, I didn't see nothing. Because, see, in their mind, they're thinking this is getting at Trump. Yeah, they're willing to overlook their reasoning, that built-in gut feeling, the conscience that says, man, I don't know, man. My gut tells me what these Democrats are selling, I shouldn't be buying. But they hit me in my blind spot. They hit me below the belt when they start talking about racism and injustice. So if it'll help get rid of Trump, then I'll just suspend all my reasoning skills and believe it, regardless of how it'll end up about 5 years from now when I'm really being subjected to a real dictatorship, not the fake ones that they're talking about when it comes down to Trump. So here's Tucker. He's talking about a serious topic, which is, the current pandemic that's running around, according to all the Democrats, that we got to, shut everything down. So let's go ahead and take a listen to Tucker and see if we can make some sense out of this nonsense.
Have you been to America lately? A lot of Americans really haven't. For months, most of us have stayed close to home. We've had to.
True.
So the next time you get on a plane and visit a couple of American cities, you may be surprised, especially if you remember those cities well from before the pandemic.
Yeah.
An awful lot has changed in a short time. Many stores and restaurants are closed. You expect that. Churches are locked on Sunday morning. That's weird. The streets seem empty except for the parks, which are full of the homeless. When you do see people, they tend to be wearing masks and they won't get close to you.
Now, see, this is what any common sense, smart person that hasn't been manipulated by the left would think and say, now, wait a minute. Things did change rather quickly. And there's one particular group of people in the political realm that's driving us to continue to become more restrictive under the premise that we're all about to die and we need to, go on a complete lockdown until whenever they say it's over. And we all need to walk around with these masks. It's crucial. In fact, Creepy, Sleepy, Sloppy, Slimy the other day said that all Americans nationwide need to wear masks. I mean, he didn't give no scientific, information to justify what he was saying. Just trust me, I'm doing it. And because Trump's not, that means he don't care and he wants to see people die. However, you would think if this pandemic was that dangerous and they were that worried about making sure it didn't spread, they would put together a task force, some volunteers, something like that, to go out and pass all of these masks out to all these homeless people. What? They don't care about the homeless? I thought the Democratic Party cares about all people. The homeless, blacks, and the disenfranchised and all the minorities. You would think that they'd be passing out all of those masks to them. Or just as much as they harass the law-abiding citizens that say, well, I'm not wearing a mask, and call them all types of horrible and hurtful names, you would think they'd go into those homeless areas in San Francisco and New York and all those democratically ran cities and start poking those folks. Get up, get that newspaper off of you. Come on out of that cardboard box and put this mask on, buddy. It's mandatory. But they're not, huh? You would think that all of these folks that come out and riot and tear up stuff and burn down stuff, you would think the first thing the police should be saying when they pull up and pull out those bullhorns, listen, this is a national epidemic and a lockdown. We don't care if you're mad over racial injustice or not. Y'all butts need to put a mask on. And then they would be supported by Joe Biden and you know, what's her name? I think of, not Kamala, but Kamala Harris. You would think that all these Democrats who are demonizing Trump for not, you know, mandatory, making it mandatory to wear masks, you would think they'd come out and address that first in regards to all of these people that's protesting and tearing up stuff that basically are working for the DNC and the Democratic Party. But they don't. Why don't they come under the same discipline and verbal lashing as everyone else? But I guess only us white nationalists, right-wingers can put all this stuff together. I don't know. Maybe it's just us and all of our racism thinks like this. But let's continue. Let's finish, Tucker.
It's a very strange experience. The country has changed a lot. The culture has changed a lot, and really not for the better.
No, not at all.
So the question is, how long will this last? How long do we have to endure this? When do we get our country back?
Don't know.
When can we live like we used to live back in February?
Yeah, not long ago.
That question is too rarely asked, and in fact, asking it is actively discouraged.
Huh. So wait a minute, Tucker. You're saying in a short amount of time, because along with the pandemic that happened and just fall out of the sky somewhere from China, perhaps, who knows? But nonetheless, you're telling me no one except us racist white nationalists that want to go back to work, perhaps to save our economy or not come under some type of real dictatorship, unlike the one they're trying to pretend Trump is putting us under. You're telling me because they were able to combine that along with propaganda, telling all of their, I want to put this nicely, but dumb supporters and voters, and telling them that the only reason that Trump is questioning all of this and saying we need to get back to work and we can't, you know, violate people's right to choose and wear, I mean, all that stuff. Only reason he's doing that is because he's a dictatorship. I mean, he's a dictator rather, and he's racist, and he's Hitler and Mussolini and all them wrapped up in one. Therefore, instead of questioning what the Democrats are pushing, their supporters embrace it and go after Trump because all the Democrats got to do is just say, well, Trump won it, and therefore it must be bad. Thus, causing their own voters to accept all of this real dictatorship that's coming because they can't see past seeing Trump as a racist, Nazi dictator. That is a pretty clever trick. Man. Anyway, well, let's continue.
First, you remember the authorities told us we could resume our lives when hospital admissions tapered off, when we flattened the curve.
I remember
the curve stayed flat. In most places, it never bent.
True.
So we got a new benchmark for when we can get back to normal, when we get a vaccine.
What?
Everything will be fine once we can vaccinate against COVID-19. Many authority told us that. They're still telling us that. The state of Virginia has announced that when a vaccine finally does arrive, it will be mandatory.
Oh, now that doesn't sound like a dictatorship at all. Mandatory vaccine. I mean, heck, there's a lot of diseases that hit the planet. The United States was way worse than COVID, and we're not required to get a vaccine. I mean, you can choose to get a flu shot and all that stuff, but nobody's saying your butt's going down there to the darn clinic and get you a flu shot or else. So let me get this straight. The party and all of these bureaucrats just pretending to be scientists and working for all these organizations that we fund for them to get all this information wrong is simply telling us that we are required to go get a vaccine. Now, I don't know about you, but what would happen if we said no? Guess we just have to wonder and see how it all plays out. Let's continue.
All vaccines, Virginia will not require vaccines for hepatitis or HIV.
None of those.
They won't require a vaccine for meningitis either, despite the fact that meningitis kills a lot more, say, college students than coronavirus does.
Bingo.
But once we get a corona vaccine, they're telling us, all will be well.
Okay.
But now they've changed that. Not true anymore.
Nope.
According to a new announcement from the World Health Organization, a vaccine, even if we get one, will not be the end of all of this.
What?
It will never end.
Why?
You can get your injection, they'll make you get it,
Uh-huh.
but you'll still be under arrest.
Why?
The World Health Organization says that finding a vaccine is not the goal.
It ain't?
Reordering society is the goal.
Oh.
Quote, we cannot go back to the way things were. That's a direct quote from the leader of the World Health Organization.
Now, you know, if I was an intelligent citizen that saw this rapid change to our whole society and way of life kick in this quickly, and they deny and refuse all the possibilities to stop this when other professionals gave alternatives, they didn't even want to, even take a look at it. And then they start saying things like, we can never go back to the way things were. My question would be, why not? I mean, who's to say? I mean, when flu came out, did people say we can never go back? I mean, what's the big deal? I'm pretty sure we can, unless they're telling us that we can't. And because we got dumb people who listens to them, because they're focused on Trump, they just say, well, they're probably right. And Trump, if he says no, then it's obviously because he wants to take away our rights and not protect them because he's Trump. But the Democrats and all of these globalists, they're looking out for our betterment. Wow. They're good, man. All right, let's continue. Tucker.
Dr. Tedros, who, by the way, is not really a doctor.
What?
Because COVID-19 is not a public health crisis, really.
So wait a minute. This guy's not a doctor, but all those doctors that got on that press conference and said that we should try all these alternative things, that they were discredited, but everybody trusts this guy? Huh? Or is it only dumb people who trust this guy? Let's continue.
Even a mere virus, according to Tedros.
Okay.
COVID-19 is, in fact, this may surprise you, COVID-19 is really about global warming. As he puts it, quote, the COVID-19 pandemic has given new impetus to the need to accelerate efforts to respond to climate change.
What? So wait a minute, Tucker. You're telling me now they're using this whole pandemic to slide in some other stuff that will furthermore give them more control over our lives because they've scared all of these idiots into just accepting whatever they say and do because they're thinking, well, you know what? I don't want to die from COVID. I mean, if they say we have to look out for climate change and other things and wear masks even when I'm scuba diving, I mean, that sounds pretty logical to me. So that's what you're telling me? You're telling me this is a Trojan horse for them to really come in and control our society? Because during normal times, we would never accept these type of things. But during a pandemic that requires us to never go back to the way things were, people might just let their guard down. Let's continue.
Bet you didn't see that coming.
No, I didn't.
Bill Gates did. He agrees with that wholeheartedly.
What?
Earlier this month, Gates posted an essay to his personal website, which you probably haven't seen, arguing that the lesson of the corona pandemic is that the rest of us will have to sacrifice even more to save the earth
more
from
than we
warming.
already did?
Now, for people who are not...
But wait a minute. What is Bill talking? First of all, Bill is not a scientist. He's not a doctor. He's not an epidemiologist. Why is he even dibbling and dabbling in all of this? You would think he'd be worried more so about Microsoft or responding to all of those Africans over there that he and his wife tried to experiment on and, sterilize a lot of them, but yet they love black people and all of that stuff. You would think he'd be doing that. So why does he have his meat hooks in all of this? I'm just wondering. Interesting. Let's continue.
In our global influencers, this is all pretty confusing.
Yeah, it is.
Quick, what does the coronavirus have to do with climate change? Well, for one thing, China caused both of them. That's the obvious link.
True.
But that is definitely not the point Dr. Tedros and Bill Gates are making.
No.
Both of them bow before China. They would never meaningfully criticize the Chinese government.
But why not?
So you can be assured that's not the connection they're drawing. No.
They're not making
For
that
Dr. Tedros and Bill Gates...
So wait a minute, Tucker. Wait a minute. See, because I'm not a Bill Gates or Dr. Tedros or whoever, I'm just a regular guy with common sense, that I'm able to make that, comparison and draw those conclusions. But these brilliant minds can't make that? Or could it be that they have another motive not to make it? And dumb people might not question that. Let's continue.
Climate change share a very different connection. Both are useful pretexts for mass social control. Both are essentially unsolvable crises they can harness to bypass democracy and force powerless populations to obey their commands.
Bingo! Now, wait a minute before Tucker even said that. That's what I was thinking as just a common sense person, because whenever you want to change a society and make them embrace it, something that will, restrict their rights or, put them on lockdown, you don't want to just do it right out in the open and just say, hey, man, look, we trying to become a dictatorship and we going to lock all y'all rights down and take them from you. No. You want to hit them with some type of misdirection. Drop a little pandemic here, cause some chaos here, release an Antifa here and a Black Lives Matter there, make them start harassing the folks. Get the people so upset and frustrated that they just throw their hands up and say, man, give us what y'all want to give us. Just give us some relief, man. I'm sick of hearing these folks outside walking around my neighborhood, harassing me. I'm sick of riding around in my car and folks trying to pull me out and beat me just because I'm a different race. I'm sick of turning on the news every day and hearing racism, sexism, xenophobia. I'm sick of this. Plus, I can't go to church. Plus, I can't go outside without a mask on. Plus, we can't party. Plus, everything closes down at 10 o'clock. Man, what are you saying? If we just take this vaccine and if we comply with all these global warming issues and changes, you'll let us be? Okay, that sounds like a fair trade-off. See, I think that's where they're going, but I'm just one guy, and Tucker, he seems to think that too. Let's continue.
Now it makes sense.
Light bulb.
Ever wondered why our leaders consider the coronavirus a major public health crisis, but not, say, suicides and drug ODs?
Good question.
Well, this is why. When a 26-year-old mother in New Hampshire drops dead from fentanyl, Bill Gates and Dr. Tedros don't get more powerful.
No.
Her death is useless to them.
Wait a minute. So that's kind of like the Democrats as a whole and Black Lives Matter. See, so when 61 folks get shot over a weekend or one day actually in D.C., none of them make a statement or come out, no protesting or tearing up stuff. When all those people in Chicago were getting shot and killed, none of, could it be because those deaths don't benefit them? I'm just trying to put all this stuff together because dumb people only get mad when they see a white cop kill a black man. They can be politicized, but don't get mad when they see all those black people that the Democrats and Black Lives Matter claim the champions of getting killed and never say anything. They did, for some reason, they can't put all that together. But you know what? Maybe it's just me and my white nationalist Trump MAGA hat wearing mind. I don't know. Us with all of our conspiracy theories. Let's continue.
So they don't care. If you actually wanted to improve people's lives, you would look at things very differently, and you would probably reach very different conclusions about the pandemic.
What?
In just a few weeks, a deadly virus spread from central China through Europe to every major city in the West.
Yeah.
And as that happened, the World Health Organization did nothing to stop it, and in fact spread disinformation as it was happening.
There you go.
Those are the facts.
That's true.
So what would a rational person conclude from those facts? Well, the first and most obvious lesson is globalization has risks. It has upsides, of course.
True.
Cheaper plastic crap from China, but it also has risks.
True.
Pandemic spread very, very fast.
Right. Now see, once again, Tucker, I'm just putting it all together. As a smart person, I would say, well, heck, if it came from China and spread all the way to the United States, then not only that, once it got here, we realized that because we want to be all globalistic and outsource and, get all that cheap labor and products, we don't even have the resources we need, and we have to rely on that same country that sent all that pandemic to our country. I would be like, whoa, well, maybe we want to pump the brakes on our friendliness and how much we interact, and maybe start building stuff here. But apparently that's xenophobic, and nobody put all that together. I guess I'm just racist and a xenophobe when I think like that. So who knows? Let's continue.
Most important international public health organization failed on purpose. It's corrupt.
It is.
The WHO is corrupt. That's a huge problem. That's the other lesson.
Yeah. But it's Trump.
But no one's learning those lessons.
No.
When was the last time you heard Bill Gates or Dr. Tedros say those things? Never. They never will say them because they wouldn't benefit from acknowledging they're true. This is true about all crises.
Like what?
They only take the lessons that empower them. How about global warming? How would a rational person assess global warming? If you really believe that carbon emissions were distorting the Earth's climate, and that's the claim they make, maybe they're right, then you would take a very close look at the forces behind those carbon emissions. You would ask hard questions like the global economy. You'd wonder who's profiting from this system that's destroying the Earth.
Like China.
How exactly do the richest, most powerful people in the world, that would be big finance and the tech monopolies, contribute to carbon emissions? That would be the first question you would ask. That's the logical way to think about climate change.
That's what I was saying, Tucker.
And if you began to think that way, you might wind up concluding that people like, I don't know, Michael Bloomberg were in fact climate criminals.
Teeny Mike?
Their private jets alone produce more carbon emissions a year than entire African villages do, not to mention more than your neighborhood does. A lot more.
Yeah, that's true.
But tellingly, no one on the environmental left ever criticizes Michael Bloomberg. He's considered a leader in the fight against climate change.
That is peculiar.
On the basis of the numbers, that is ludicrous, but they say it with a straight face and demand you believe it.
Climate change.
Part of this is human nature. All of us tend to place ourselves at the center, in the heroic center of our own narratives. That's particularly true of rich people who tend toward the narcissistic.
Okay.
But in this case, they are evading responsibility. They are profiting directly from a system they claim is unacceptable, but it's not their fault somehow. You know whose fault it is? Oh, it's your fault.
So wait. I think what I'm concluding right here, because I'm not a dumb person, they're misplacing the blame. It appears, Tucker, that if they want to burn down the barn that all of your goods and resources are in, they would set the fire and then show up to put the fire out. And the whole time, probably blame the neighbors next door. Hey, I'm honest, I saw the neighbors next door over here last night. I don't know what they were doing. I said, hey, buddy, what are you doing over there? Get away from there, because you don't want to mess around and set my friend's stuff on fire. But they just waved me off, and then next you know, middle of the night, I see smoke and flames. I come out and I said, man, we better put this out. That's crazy. And all the people says, thank you for doing that. And I have no idea that all of these people are benefiting off of that big fire. That's what you're telling me, Tucker? You know, I would think all of these smart Democratic voters and all of them would pick up on that, but that's just me. Maybe you got to have a white nationalist mind to think about all of those practical, reasonable things. Let's continue.
You're the one who's doing it. You're the one who's killing humanity. You're the one who must change. You've got too many kids. You drive a pickup truck. You forgot to wear your little mask. You're going to hell.
Peasants.
Good luck with your bankruptcies and your opioid crisis and your broken lives.
Those problems
middle
are for
America.
just regular people
We'll be at
like
the
us.
Yellowstone Club having a drink.
Right.
It's a scam.
It is,
It's
Tucker.
an obvious scam.
Yeah, very.
Here's another data point for
smart
you that you
people.
won't see on television. Less than a month ago, on July 31st, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, our primary public health organization, funded by the federal government, released guidelines to state health departments about patients infected with the coronavirus. How do you track the spread of this disease?
Okay.
In a footnote in the release, the CDC acknowledged that researchers lack evidence that, quote, masks offer any protection against coronavirus. Any, at all. As health officials work to track the spread of the virus, the CDC suggested that they ignore whether or not people were wearing masks. In other words, wearing a mask may be completely irrelevant to the spread of the virus. Huh?
Exactly. Hold on, Tucker. I would have thought as important as they're making it appear that everybody needs to have a mask on, they would have released this information worldwide. They would have been telling us, dude, take those masks off. I would have thought that's what they would have said. Because why make us have to do this stupid stuff and pretend that these masks are really doing something when they're not? I mean, you go to the store and you gotta go in. You gotta have a mask on and you put it on halfway, but your nose is sticking out whole time. Yeah, but in your mind, it's doing something, I guess. Or you're just going to a restaurant to pick something up and they're like, you can't come in and pick up your pizza without a mask, but all the people in there sitting down eating, using the mask as a napkin. And I'm saying, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah, I mean, some people don't even bother to put real masks on. They just throw, a dang bandana around their face and they're rolling out. And in their minds, yeah, we're doing stuff. What they're doing, it sounds like, is just obeying without questioning, Tucker, and giving all those people who says, let's just see how dumb our voters and supporters are, giving them a good way to keep data of how many folks are walking around saying, yep, we'll just do what they tell us to do, versus those white supremacist, white nationalist, disobedient, Trump, MAGA hat wearing supporters. Even if they're not white, they're still like that. Those black and Latino and all the other minority Trump supporters that's white nationalists. Yeah, all of them. Yeah. So that's what they're doing, Tucker. You got to be kidding me. You know what? Let me take a break and get right back. And we're back in Kevin's Corner. I'm just trying to make some sense out of nonsense as I tag team with Tucker tonight and invite you all to, watch this. I had to break it up into 2 sections, part 2, because it was kind of long. But we definitely want to get to the bottom of why all of these dumb folks are listening to the Democratic Party and are probably going to try to vote Joe Biden in, along with giving up all of their freedoms unknowingly. Let's listen and finish this off. Okay, let's see.
Still no proof that masks protect us against COVID-19? That is apparently the conclusion the CDC reached. It's not something Trump tweeted. The CDC put that in a release to the states. It seems like a blockbuster story.
True.
Why isn't that on page 1 of the New York Times?
I don't know, Tucker.
Why is the entire media, the entire leadership class of the United States of America ignoring this? Masks are obligatory. They're mandatory everywhere.
Yeah.
Just the other day, Joe Biden announced that if he's elected, you'll be required to wear a mask when you're alone outside.
Interesting.
What is going on?
I don't know.
You know what's going on.
What is
Fear works.
Oh.
The more afraid you are, the more you will accept. Again, a feature of human nature. The more cut off you are from your family and your friends, the more power they have to control you.
Now, I believe that the Soviets used that for revolutions. Many communists and Marxist, countries, they use that. A little bit of fear get you together, man. Oh, you want to go and see what's outside of North Korea? Go on out there. They all trying to kill y'all. What, you want to vote for them racist, white nationalist Republicans? Do you realize they're all racist and white nationalists and Nazis and want to just see the destruction of all black people? You better not vote for them. Yeah, stay right over here and keep voting for us Democrats who love you. As your cities are crumbling and your schools are horrible and the violence is killing all the black folks there and all of those wonderful things that we provided for you guys. But nonetheless, the bigger fear is not all of that. It's racism. Let's continue.
This is an election year. Democrats want to win in November. The virus is their main shot to win. Nobody disputes that who's looked at the numbers.
Using it.
They're using fear of the coronavirus to achieve that.
Like
For
what?
example,
What?
polling places. They would like to close more of them. Why? To force a vote by mail. Why? Because vote by mail is more easy to manipulate. The latest coronavirus relief bill the Democrats are pushing would bring ballot harvesting to every state. What does that have to do with defeating the virus? Nothing.
Now, good question, Tucker. It has nothing to do with it because, see, I'm thinking, since they've wasted all of our time trying to change up how we go in and out of Walmart, and we got to stand on little circles and dots, and how we just got to stay 6 feet. Why are we even doing all of that if we can't apply that to the voting booth? I'm just wondering. So they done taught us how to. Now they got time. I mean, November's a long way away. Even though they want to, for some reason, keep schools closed and also keep, let me see what else, schools and the places we go to vote, schools and what else? Oh, yeah. Schools and also churches. For some reason, they want to keep those closed. Now, you would think they have plenty of time to put up all the little windows and the little dots and make sure people come in with the mask and require the same things that we need when we go into these stores. But for some reason, it's more risky by going into any of these schools or churches to vote than it is to go into Walmart and gas stations and restaurants and all that stuff. We just don't have the time to secure those areas because COVID's waiting in there. It's waiting right in there. So I'm starting to wonder that they might have a motive for all of this, a diabolical scheme. Because my gut tells me, anytime all the Democrats and the liberal media is on one accord, when they all come together and say, we got to keep the economy closed, who does that benefit? Not Trump, not us, them. When they come together and they say, you know what, we got to have mail-in voting for everybody across the United States because of COVID. Who does that benefit? Do you think all of these creepy, sleepy, sloppy, slimy voters who really don't love Joe, but they just hate Trump, are going to get up and make the trip in to go and vote on a rainy day for Joe Biden? No. Trump supporters will, but they know their people won't. So by just throwing out all them ballots, flying over the United States in the airplane and dropping them all out, leaves a lot of room for shenanigans. That's all I'm saying. And I think that's the gut plan. But for some reason, they're dumb supporters. Either don't understand what they're doing, or they do, and they're willing to accept it. Take us home, Tucker.
It's not science,
No.
It's politics. But here's the key thing to remember. All of us are assuming, and on the right, it is gospel. This will end if Joe Biden wins. On Inauguration Day, no more lockdowns. Yeah, don't bet on it.
Yeah, no.
This isn't ending. The Wuhan pandemic has made our leadership class more powerful than they have ever been.
That's true.
Why would they relinquish that?
I don't know.
The only politician in America who has ever given up power voluntarily is George Washington, and they're toppling his statues.
Interesting. Wow. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. My time with Tucker. And I'm glad you decided to watch my video and go on that journey. Yeah, that's the title of this video. My time with Tucker. And the ability to decipher and separate folks with some reasoning skills versus the dummies who still can't see what the Democrats are doing and gonna vote in their own destruction. It's sad, isn't it? And we just watch it play out right in front of our eyes. Anyway, so God bless y'all. Don't forget, hit like, share, subscribe, and that notification button. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all that good stuff. Don't forget to check out Extreme Teas, my sponsor. If you like their products, click on the link below. Put Kevin in the promo code. You'll get a 20% discount. And is there anything I missed? Oh, if you want to donate to Kevin and Kevin's Corner, feel free. There's a link below the video to do that as well. We check y'all out next time in Kevin's Corner. God bless.